Everyone, welcome to this MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, How to Outwit the Six Ghosts of Fear. I'm Bess McCarty, coach for network marketers, also called the Shrink of MLM. So this is a very fitting topic today. Normally, Jeffrey David Gamble is here with me on these Facebook Live. We do the MLM Lunchtime Leadership shows every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern Time. And today Jeff is at an event, not able to attend, so I'm covering this myself. And welcome Shamala, Kindness, and welcome everybody. Glad you got on. And welcome Sherry. Welcome everyone here. Our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. And we love giving to this profession. Jeff and I are both generic teachers of network marketing. And our school is generic, this show is generic, and we love sharing what we know and learning from you too. So this is a place where you can also write in your tips, insights, questions, or takeaways as we go. And if you're watching the replay, I'd love if you type in replay because I'd like to thank you for that. Welcome Aviva, how are you? How are you, my Israel friend? So this month is actually June 18th is our 1-year anniversary of doing this show. And to celebrate for the whole month, we're covering, instead of usually we cover John Maxwell's book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, but this month we're covering Think and Grow Rich as a celebration of the anniversary. And we're just about at the end of the book now of Think and Grow Rich. Welcome, David. Welcome. So glad to see you. So today is Think and Grow Rich, How to Outwit the Six Ghosts of Fear. He put that last in the book. So we're actually on the last chapter of the book. It's been just very powerful reviewing this book again and getting deeper than the other times when I read the book earlier, because I'm a much better, more evolved person now than I was when I read it before, so I'm getting so much more out of it. So how to outwit the six ghosts of fear. He says there's really three enemies, just to get an overview. Napoleon Hill says there's really three enemies, and that is indecision, doubt, and fear. So we're tackling the fear today. He covered the other ones earlier in the chapter. And he says that there are six fears that he identifies. I can categorize them as a body-mind therapist. I categorize them in a little bit different areas, but he says, according to Hill, that there's six areas of fear. And he said the first one, the greatest one, is poverty. Second, criticism. Third, fear of illness or ill health. 4, loss of love of someone. And 5, fear of old age. And 6, fear of death. So those are the ones that he identifies that we're going to go over today. And that should be the first. Which one should be, David? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Karen, for sharing. Thank you, Annie, for sharing with your friend. I appreciate that. Some people like to share in other Facebook groups so that people can be watching live at the same time, and that's a really cool idea. Thank you for sharing and thinking just beyond us. So, fear. I'll just give my little orientation about fear. As a body-mind therapist for 30 years, and a coach to network marketers, helping hundreds of network marketers break through fears and negative beliefs and blocks to their success. I can say that every one of us has fear. And if we think we don't, then we just haven't looked close enough or been that honest with ourselves. It's a human condition. Everyone has it. It's not a bad thing, to admit that we have fear. It's human. It's normal. It's honest. I divide my consciousness into two areas, and I know I cannot be in both at the same time. I call it either love or fear. And all of the negative traits that I've ever found anywhere in human psychology boil down to fear. Underneath it, even anger, that we might be angry because we're afraid something's going to be taken from us, or that we're not going to be safe or survive or something like that. So underneath everything, I believe, is a fear, even sadness, a fear of loss of love, or a fear of not getting our needs met. We talked before about the hierarchy of needs according to Abraham Maslow, and other hierarchies that other people have outlined and researched. But basically, it's a fear of surviving, or fear of death, or a fear of pain in some way. Emotional pain, physical pain, illness, the pain of poverty, the pain of loss of love. So people fear either death, or if we're gonna live, the pain that's between now and death. So that's a lot of fear, of things that could hurt in our lives, or things that be uncomfortable, emotionally or physically. So welcome, Lisa. Welcome, Bella. Glad to see you. And if anybody has a question about fear, like how you overcome it, we're going to cover that in a little bit, but feel free to type in a question too, because we can have discussion a little bit. So Hill says that a state of mind cannot be purchased. It has to be created. So no matter how much money we have, or how much we wish we could buy happiness, it has to be created from inside, including how to overcome the fears. And believe me that all successful people, all people at levels, it doesn't seem that money has everything to do with being able to be happy or not be in fear. Because, there's the stories of movies. What, Paradise Lost, is it? The person who made a lot of money is scared to lose it. And people who don't have enough money are scared that their needs wouldn't be met. So fear can happen at all levels. Underneath it all, afraid of losing what we have, or losing what we want, not getting what we want. Thank you, David. I personally, I'll give a tip up front about fear. I found that the more that I connect with my higher power, divine source, or whatever some people, if you use the word God, divine love, I find that for me and with clients that I work with, if they have a spiritual connection of some type, life goes good for them. It goes a lot easier. Or the therapy or the breakthroughs that we do happen a lot easier for them when they have some sort of spiritual connection with something greater than them. And I find that's in direct proportion with their fear. So actually I find that I as I go along in life, I have less and less and less fear about all these 6 areas, because I have even greater connection. I practice and work at this relationship with God, Spirit, my higher power, something bigger than me, whatever we want to call that, the universe. I work at this connection. I work at this relationship. I do my spiritual exercises every day where I personally spend time in my relationship with God. Some people get that in nature. That's where they feel God the most. But whatever way that we do it, ultimately benefits and combats the fear, this connection with the divine. Yesterday I did a live, and I was reading from my Miracles Journal, the things that on the same live here we're talking about the 6th sense, and I read from my Miracles Journal about the things that happened that I could not have planned. It's like, wow, it's just very clear. Something bigger is at work here than our own little puny human selves. In fact, we wouldn't be alive without this great force, this Napoleon Hill calls it infinite intelligence. So I find that the more I'm in connection with that and develop that relationship and trust and communication back and forth, the more I talk to it and listen to it, the less that I have these fears. And David, I know how to overcome fear doing how I know is my challenge. Yeah, to face action really does get rid of fear. When we take action, a lot of times we're afraid of our own inaction, right? We're afraid of being paralyzed. We're going to talk about that in a minute too. But yeah, taking action is the antidote to fear, procrastination, lack of confidence, low self-esteem, and all that. God is the answer, and trusting that gets in my way. Yeah, trusting. And welcome, Nancy. Good to see you. Good to see everybody here. Yeah, let's have a discussion about fear. What works for you for overcoming it? Where do you get tripped up? So I have experienced that when I do my best in life, when I set out what I want, focus on the positive, set out what I want, design a plan, and do stuff like David was saying, take action, that alleviates the fear, or it completely eliminates it. So I get a feeling that I do the best I can, and then God takes over from there. That's a good feeling, that I'm not alone. I believe there is this infinite intelligence, as Napoleon Hill calls it, this thing bigger than me that is working with me, or I am working with it. I'm a co-worker with it to serve all of life. And when I do that, I feel like I am in the powerful forces of this greater thing, like when I used to surf, when I lived in San Diego. You're on a surfboard, you catch a wave, it is bigger than you, baby. It is so powerful, it can kill, it can smash you, it can carry you into the shore faster than you can swim. It is bigger than you cannot control it, but you are one with the wave and this force, and you're riding this wave. And that, to me, is a great thrill that I feel when I am in service to life and a co-worker with God, and not afraid to do that. Welcome, Ginger and Brenda, talking about how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. And Annie says fear is bigger than the thing that's fearful. Usually not as scary as it really is. Yeah, even Annie, thank you, even Napoleon Hill says that sometimes the hypochondria we have of the fear of illness creates more damage than the illness itself or the illness would. And so, yeah, what we do to ourselves withholding fear is bigger than that event could be. In fact, loss of a loved one, loss of love, our own death or anything like that. I think when people really need it, they go, hey, this is a natural step, a natural transition into another world, another level. What was I afraid of? This is a comfortable, familiar thing. That's what I've heard people say who have, technically died and come back. So yeah, I think that can apply to every single fear. Like, wow, what was I afraid of? Like the story of the guy who falls over a cliff in the dark. It's the dead of night and it's really dark and there's no light out or anything. And he falls over the cliff, and as he's falling, he reaches out and he grabs a branch. It saves him from likely death, And he holds onto this branch for dear life all night long, and he's aching, and his body's muscles are aching and everything, but he holds onto this branch very tightly for fear of falling. It's the only thing that can save him. And how long can he hold on? I don't know. But guess what? When the sun comes up, he discovered that he was only 6 inches from the ground. He could have let go. And some people teach that letting go thing. The ground would have caught him. And Annie agrees, God definitely dispels fear in me, and Shamala agrees too. God takes over when I'm fearful. I chant mantras and say my affirmations. What mantras do you like to chant? I'd like to hear that. I'll share mine that I've been, a mantra that I have, a word that I sing for 40 years now, and that is the word HU, H-U. I've been singing this for 40 years. Whenever I am in fear or any discomfort, any worry, any anxiety, I sing HU. And later on I found that, wow, research shows that the vowel U, when you sing that, it opens the heart. So it opens me to divine love, and I feel it. I feel the presence of it, and it's not my imagination. I know that it simply opens my heart to what was already there, the help, the comfort, the degree that we are loved like crazy. Heard a story yesterday that there was somebody who heard that llamas guard sheep. And so if you have a flock of sheep in Peru or wherever, for all those who have a flock of sheep out there, you may want to take a note, write this down, that llamas guard the sheep from the coyotes. They are very, very protective of the sheep, and they will let out a blatant warning cry, if a coyote comes around, and they will chase it, and the coyote learns, when you see llamas, don't bother the sheep, or you hear that llama warning cry, get out of there fast. And it's said that is how Divine Spirit loves us, with that much ferocity, with that much care, with that much overlooking, looking out for the negative for us, protecting us and taking care of us. I know that I've had near car accidents, and that, wow, that was divine protection right there. You know, that was not me. Something averted it, and I think I've had many cases like that in my life where I've been watched over and given the exact thing that I needed at that moment. Maybe sometimes I ask for it and it shows up right away, or sometimes I don't know what I need and that shows up too. So many examples of that divine providence. And David, I am healthy, wealthy, abundant, and joy. That's a great one. And Adrian, welcome. Adrian, thank you. I do, I thank you. So another good affirmation that I write or say every day is, I am healthy, wealthy, wise, and free. That's one that I personally like a lot. So thank you for your tips here. There's room for that, and I like sharing that. I like hearing that. So let's. He says, if we deny that we have fear, what we need is courage to face it and admit it. And he says, worry is just sustained fear caused by indecision. And what we need to do with each of the 6 fears is decide to accept them. Accept that, okay, I could live without love or money or health. I could still be happy. Even if I lose all these things, that I could still be happy. Because he says nothing that life has to offer is worth the price of worry. So let's talk about the 6 fears individually. I have courage every day. Awesome. Awesome. And I am safe and secure in the perfect and divine order. All is in perfect and divine order. That is for sure, even when it doesn't look like it. So thank you for all these little tips about handling fear. Now let's talk about the 6 ghosts of fear and their symptoms, how we can recognize that we even have them. First of all, he says, I'm going to put the number one, the biggest one first, and that is fear of poverty. He says this is the most destructive, and he spends the most time talking about the fear of poverty. And so he says it paralyzes. This is when I read this stuff, you're gonna like want to avoid the fear of poverty. But this is what he says it does. I'll read it to you guys. He says, the fear of poverty is most destructive. It paralyzes millions, but it's just a state of mind. It's not even real. Fear is false evidence appearing real, right? So he says it paralyzes, the fear of poverty or all fear. I'll say all fear for this. Paralyzes reason, destroys imagination and ambition, kills self-reliance and persistence. It undermines enthusiasm. It discourages initiative and self-control. It leads to uncertainty and procrastination. It beclouds the memory. It invites failure in every form. It kills love. It assassinates the finer emotions of the heart. It invites disaster and ill health and sleeplessness. And it invites misery and unhappiness in a world of abundance. That's not necessary. We don't need to do it. And he said signs of it could be indifference. You know, we're ambivalent, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution. We hold back because we're fearful of moving forward, and procrastination, and expecting poverty or expecting the worst instead of the positive, or expecting poverty instead of riches. Like, oh, that's the way it's always been, and I'm from the wrong side of the tracks, and this is the way my family is, and so this is the way it will always be. Or when something bad happens, I can catch myself. See, I knew it was going to happen like that. And it's like, you know, what programming in me was expecting the worst at that moment instead of the best. So I like to say, prepare for the worst, but expect the best. Expect the best. So we can check our expectations, and we can check all these things. And it is just like switching over to a different channel. We can switch from a poverty consciousness to a money consciousness. I call it using it a mind movie, where you run a movie of how you want your life to be, and do that in a minute in the morning and a minute in the evening. and see, feel, taste, smell how a rich, an abundant consciousness is like. What will your life be like? Who will you be with? What will you be saying? It won't be negative stuff. What will you be doing? What's your environment like? What kind of home do you live in? Where do you travel to? So see this abundance. See this rich consciousness. Another tip is to go and test drive some very nice cars that you would like to have. Don't be afraid to shoot big. Walk through some very nice homes, or visit them and say, what would it feel like to live here? And so start trying this on like you try on clothes, and know that you deserve it too. Self-esteem. Why not you? Why not? Why wouldn't you deserve it? Why would not God, the divine power of the universe, want the good things for you as well as for other people? Now, even if there's people that are hungry in the world, we can still donate to causes and still help that. But no need to deny ourselves. We can do both at the same time. In fact, I have this theory that the more that I treat myself to good things, the better my consciousness improves, so that I can make more money to be able to donate more to the causes. That is my theory. The more that I raise my abundance and rich and money consciousness, the more productive and positive I become, so that I can make more millions of dollars to donate to these causes. So I think that giving myself the good things in life, the best that life has to offer as far as healthy food and positive and environment and beauty around me, can uplift me and make me a better earner to be able to donate more to the causes versus the other way around. So that is my theory about spending the money on ourselves. When somebody says, oh, but there's somebody starving over there, I shouldn't spend the money, I should send it to that starving person. Well, I think that this is a roundabout way of being able to send more money to that starving person, my own personal belief. And welcome, Adele, and welcome, Patrick. Thank you. Everybody have comments? That's one of the biggest ones for me. Fear of poverty. That's what, Nancy, that's what Napoleon says for everybody. I've been laying sleepless nights and just thought last night, what good is worrying about it? Causing more stress. Worry isn't going to change it. So she slept better. Awesome. And welcome, Adele. So that's what he says exactly. Life does not have anything that's worth worrying over. There's nothing in life that's worth the price of worry. And does worry help? No. But so when I find myself worrying about anything, is this going to come out the way that I want it to? I do my best to say, how can I help it? Can I help this situation? And how can I help it? And then I leave the rest. I realize that there's something bigger than me at work. And I do have stories about how Spirit has, or it has just worked out. It's worked out far, far better. There was the story of a person going through bankruptcy and found that, or fearing going through the bankruptcy, and found out that they came out actually better financially after the bankruptcy than before it, believe it or not, because of some legal things that went on. Life can surprise us, life can take care of us. Personally, I was going through a rocky time one time, and not sleeping for a while. And I thought, how am I going to navigate this? And all of a sudden I got this big impression, this big voice that came to me that said, let me steer. I thought, of course. I'll do my best, but let that thing that is bigger than me and more powerful and loves me and knows what I want and knows what the good of the whole is, let that thing work. And it worked out beautifully, because I let this bigger thing steer. So, okay, let's talk about the next fear. He outlines Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, is what we're talking about for the people who just joined us. This is how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. And, right. Since he says this is the most pervasive and the biggest fear that people have and the most destructive, he put that first. So one way to bust that too, I call these busting our blocks as a body-mind therapist. Take a look at that and then just write down, journal, write down what your internal voices are telling you. Like, I'll never be able to do that. I don't deserve that. It's always going to be this way. I'm going to be a bag lady on the street. Or whatever your internal fears, just give them a voice and write that down. And then you can say, is that true? You know, do I know that that's really true, that I don't deserve more? And I can't take the next step. For some people, instead of shooting for $1 billion, it might help to just take the next step above where you are in income or life circumstances or environment. Just take the next step and say, I just aspire to that one. Because when we think too big, a lot of times our subconscious mind goes, oh, that will never happen. That's that's out of my imagination. We can't bring it into our own realm. So maybe just shoot for the next step and the next step. Or some people like to shoot all the way. You know, shoot for the stars, hit the moon. So figure which one works for you, though. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to number 2, fear. Ghost number 2 of the 6 ghosts of fear. Now that is fear of criticism. That is huge. We all like to be liked, don't we? We all want to be included in the tribe and not cast out of the tribe because, you know, we want to be accepted, we want to belong. Because if we're cast out of the tribe in past times, then the wolves can eat us and we don't have the safety of numbers or anything. So we want to belong. You know, we sometimes do too much to be liked or to belong or to conform or even go against who we are in order not to be thrown out of the circle and not, you know, to not be liked or not belong. He says symptoms of this are self-consciousness, lack of poise. In other words, we're so worried about ourselves that we cannot focus on other people or how to give to the group or how to be a servant to life because we're so worried, well, what are they thinking of me? You know, do they like me? Am I saying the right thing? Am I going to make a mistake? Will I, you know, in a network marketing it looks like, well, what if the person doesn't want me to talk to them? What if they don't want me? What if they're going to say no? What if I'm intruding? What if I'm interrupting their dinner time or something like that? So we're scared. We're scared we're not going to be liked. And we hold back the gifts that we could give, the good that we could do in the world by offering. One tip around this is to ask permission. If you do call a friend about your network marketing business, and you can say, hi, I've been wanting to talk with you about something new that I'm doing. Is this a good time? So you ask permission rather than just call and start to talk. And you see how they are first. You know, make it about them first. Give the gift of your attention, your curiosity, and your care about them first before you offer to share something you have. We do make this really easy in our school that Jeff and I teach for network marketers, our generic school called the MLM Millionaire Club. It's going to be renamed soon to reflect the more of an academy teaching that it is. But we teach in there a method, a favor script method that is super indirect and it asks permission. So it really removes this fear of criticism by teaching, hey, texting a friend, hey, how are you? Want to ask you a big favor? Want to let you know what I do in case you run across the right person. You could refer them to me. Is this a good time? So you're asking that permission. You're asking for a favor, and it's not about them. It's indirect, and it's just about referrals. It's not about, they don't have to, you know, worry about defending themselves against your offer. It's just about a referral. And they're curious. They want to help. And so what they say, is this a good time? Yes, later, or whenever, I'm not sure when. And then you deliver a 10-minute presentation. So that really takes away the fear of criticism because it's you're asking for a favor and you're saying, is this a good time? So we have ways of getting around that in network marketing. We're actually going to teach that, a little 30-second commercial here I'll give. We're going to teach that at our open house on Sunday, July 7th. At 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The people are registering now because that enters them for a drawing for the free books that we're giving away at that event. So it's a double win. You learn this method, which people in our school are jumping ranks with. getting tremendous results, setting more appointments than they ever had and all that. So that will be July 7th. I'll post a link for a free ticket for you to reserve your place now. Mark your calendar now, and you can share this with friends, team, but that also, that free ticket enters you the drawing to get some of the free many personal growth books that we're going to be mailing out to people. So that helps the fear of criticism, because it never gets objections, it never gets a no. It's just an amazing method to help people move faster in their network marketing business and start your new recruit fast. So, okay, back to the fear of criticism. He says symptoms of this. I mentioned self-confidence, self-consciousness, lack of poise, personality issues that sidestep issues rather than face them head on, agreeing with others too quickly or too much, lack of self-esteem, lack of initiative, lack of ambition, being extravagant even. We know that in childhood, many of us heard, "You can't do that. Who do you think you are? You'll never amount to anything." And he'll tells a story of this one lady who was, very critical with her son. She goes, "You're going to end up in the penitentiary before you're 20. Well, at age 17, he ended up in a rehab center. So these self-fulfilling things that we might have heard as a child, do you remember what they were? Do you remember what you heard? You don't need to continue that inner voice of criticism. I call it the inner critic that we can carry with us over from childhood. If the parent is no longer living with us or even no longer alive, we somehow can keep that alive by telling ourselves that and replacing that parent, with our own inner critic. We don't need to do that. We can remove that. Notice the self-talk that you do to yourself, or even notice to other people, because that's probably what you're telling yourself too. Like, "What's wrong with you? Who do you think you are? That was a dumb thing to do. I knew you couldn't do it. That's too hard for you. You don't have what it takes." These are all things that can just wipe out a child's self-esteem and ability to have a positive outlook on life and achieve. So we can rewrite those things. We can say, "Is that true? Is that really true?" And just ask yourself that. And of course, bring in the positive opposite. I can do anything. I remember my mom told me, "You can do anything you set your mind to." And she says, "I never worry about you. You always land on your feet, no matter what you go through in life." And these were sincere. This wasn't just positive thinking she was telling me. It was sincere. And I believed him. And I believe him about myself. Welcome, Femi. Welcome, Patrice. So we're talking about how to overcome how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. The next one that he talks about is illness. Fear of illness. He said, "Did you know that 75% of doctor's visits are due to hypochondria?" 75%? And that fear of the illness, that dwelling on the illness, causes much more damage than the real disease would have or did. And there's the story about the two. If somebody tells you have an illness or that you look bad, you start to feel bad. If they did an experiment where somebody told someone that for 3 times, "Gee, you look horrible. Gee, you look terrible. How are you feeling?" "Well, not so bad." And the second person comes in and tells them that, and they go, "Well, maybe I am feeling bad." And the third person goes, "Yeah, I feel really bad. I don't know why." Because they were told that, or because they expected that. And there's a story of 2 people in a hospital rooms. Their charts got mixed up. One was terminal, and one was just had something. It was in for something minor. Their charts got mixed up. The person who had a minor thing died because they thought that they were terminal. And the person who was supposed to be terminal lived. It recovered and lived because their darn charts got mixed up. So that is how much the outlook, that is how much our mental state and our expectations can affect even our health, even unto life or death. So he says that negative signs of this third ghost of fear, of the fear of illness. It says the signs of it are autosuggestion, this imaginary illness, or we obsess on health, the hypochondria, not exercising, which causes ill health, or I'll say over-exercising. Some people can get too obsessed with it, or even food, eating really bad food or being too obsessed and compulsive about eating really good food. Both contain, that contains fear too. Like, I must do this, or I'm just not going to be okay. I have to have the, like, I can border on that, the super organic, non-GMO, grass-fed, never given shots beef, raised from generations like that. It can be too obsessed on that. That contains fear too. So we don't want to be too obsessed. We just do our best. But don't worry if, I have to eat something GMO. Go to a restaurant and that's what there is, and I have to eat something GMO. Okay. Nature will take care of it or something. So when we are unhappy, we become susceptible. Our immune system gets low. So I think one of the biggest factors is being happy. Reader's Digest did this study a while back about, they cited a study where people died of like some natural causes, like a car accident or something like that. But some of them, when they did an autopsy on them, they found that they had the symptoms of disease in their body, like a major disease that should have caused problems, or not let them live as long as they did. How did they carry that major disease for that long when in their body they should be dead or sick, and they weren't? They died of a car accident or something like that. Well, they started doing a little checkup on all the people that they found like that showed up, the disease showed up in the autopsy, but it did not manifest in their life. They did a research on those people and say, well, what did all those people have in common that they didn't manifest that disease? And they found that every one of them were happy. They loved their life. They loved what they did. They loved something in their life. Every one of them were happy. I thought, man, that's the best antidote to disease, is being happy. So yeah, these are all true stories, Adrian. Thank you. If anyone's getting benefit, I'd love if you comment, like, tag, share, leave a comment, leave a tip, leave a question. That would be cool. So, yeah, being happy and thinking positive, with the people that got their charts switched up, or the people that never got the disease because they were happy. But he says other signs of this fear of illness is intemperance, like using alcohol or narcotics, or reading a lot, and reading a whole lot and talking and thinking about an illness can certainly bring it on. So we want to switch, watch our thoughts, all that. Okay, on to number 4. I'll move a little quicker here. Hello, Eddie. How are you? Doing your Facebook Lives today? And absolutely, I'm starting with friends that can benefit from you. Oh, thank you, Adele, for sharing this, because everybody deals with fear, right? And it can just be as simple as turning a little channel to change a life, Okay, number 4 of the 6 ghosts of fears, he says, is fear of loss. And he says this one is the most painful. We lose someone. I know 3 friends who just lost mates of, one was 32 years, one was 35 years, one was 49 years, and they just lost their mates. And I imagine that must feel like just losing a part of themselves. But each one of them is going on and working with that and adjusting, huge adjustments for these people. I haven't had that experience. But I told one of them I wish I'd had that 35 years with a wonderful mate that I would miss now. I wish I'd had that. I haven't had that yet. I've had shorter periods. But, to be able to have that. But we fear losing someone. We fear losing their love. We fear losing their favor. He says that's the most painful. Some symptoms of the fear of the loss of love is jealousy, fault finding, and trying to use money to buy love, living beyond our means, trying to even get other people's approval or good opinion of us can make us go into debt, make us, get ourselves in financial trouble. The jealousy, the things that we might try to hold on too tight to a mate or situation, or try to control somebody's opinion of us. I've seen a lot of articles and products online that says, get him to obsess with you, here's how to control your man, get his love. And those are, to me, are all signs of fear of losing, rather than enjoying each other and seeing how I can build him and edify and get the love that way and contribute to a relationship. I see these articles which are very tempting to somebody who's in pain because they can't get their mate's love. There's actually a really good book on that called Love Addiction by Pia Mellody. And many people who have read that, it can be, wanting love too much instead of finding it inside or with our own higher power, wanting it too much from the outside. And I relate to that. People who've read that book say, man, she must have been following me around taking notes. So it's about real life, love addiction. I think that you might like that. And she tells how to get out of that. And there's two parts to that. There's the person who chases and the person who avoids. And sometimes they trade places. Or sometimes we trade places in our life. That sometimes you might be the pursuer of someone who's not giving the love back, and you try even harder. Reminiscent of a parent, right? We didn't get the love from a parent, so we keep trying to get that love from daddy or mommy in that person. And if we give up and turn away, that person then might chase us, but then we might avoid it. because real relationships take real honesty and real work. So, very interesting. We could spend weeks on this topic, and I do teach that and counsel and coach people as a body-mind therapist about how to get out of the pain of loss of love, the fear of it or the experience of it. But one quick tip is to take good care of yourself. Begin to love yourself like you wish that person would. Become happy, and then you become an attractive person. But mostly you become happy because the most important relationship of all, number one relationship, is with yourself and with God. That's the one that you should really take care of first before looking to the outside. So all love addiction, all pain about this is a symptom of needing to go inside and love oneself and invest deeper in that primary relationship with ourselves and God, our higher power, whatever we might like to call it. So, okay, on to the number 5, the fear number 5, fear of old age, he says. And that is a belief that poverty and illness and decreasing sexuality, decreasing freedom, decreasing independence, decrease of financial freedom, that this all can be part of fearing old age. And he said the other thing about the fear of old age, well, first of all, is that, how old age affects us like that. The second thing that people fear old age is because they wonder what awaits us after death. And he said the symptoms of this fear of old age is lack of enthusiasm and self-esteem, self-consciousness in our speech, like we kind of apologize for our age. And yet he said, did you know that the most beneficial, most productive, most useful times in a person's life is between the ages of 40 and 60? Because that's when you have the maturity and you can kind of reap the harvest of what you've learned before, and you have all your talents and abilities and skills in that age. And yet, Grandma Moses became a famous artist at the age of 80. So don't let age stop us, right? Don't apologize for age. Don't start thinking of yourself as an old person. He said another symptom of this fear of old age is dressing inappropriately, trying to dress younger than we really are, trying to act younger than we really are, not wanting to embrace. And, age elegantly, age gracefully. Embrace the stage that I'm on, and recognize the gifts that are at every single stage of life, from babies to toddlers to school age to teenage to young adult to middle age to older age to seniors. There's a gift, there's a beauty at each single age, and what if we embrace that rather than run from it? Last of the fears, number 6, is fear of death, and he says this is the cruelest one. Because we wonder, where did I come from and where am I going? That can paralyze our reason. He says symptoms of it is when we're thinking of dying too much versus making the most of life. He said because busy people don't have time to fear death. They're busy with giving to life and enjoying life. They don't have time to think about that. He said another symptom is fear that when we leave, our loved ones won't have enough money, or fear of illness, or fear of disappointment over love. The fear of death, fear of death is said that a greater fear than that is fear of speaking. So perhaps that would go back to the fear of criticism. Some research has shown that the greatest fear is the fear of speaking, and greater than the fear of death comes after that. So again, that would be the criticism. I've gotten over that myself because I used to be a shy person. I've gotten over that, be able to get on Facebook Lives because I focus on the good that I can do. That I imagine that maybe somebody could hear this that could benefit from that. And if I'm too shy to do a Facebook Live, that won't happen. So that is how I've gotten over the fear of speaking or the fear of what people think. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to give my love, my experience as a therapist, my life lessons. Maybe it can help somebody else. It's more important than, if you like the color of my shirt or the painting in the background or anything like that. It's more important, or how I come across. So this was a full one, wasn't it? There's even more. I mean, we could spend a week on each one of these fears and how to bust fear, and actually I'm putting out some info products about that for network marketers, how to get unstuck. So that is coming. If anyone wants personal help with this, private message me. That's what I'm here for, to help bust the fears, because sometimes it's bigger than what we can do. Actually, I do have a free link that I'll put down. I call it Real Conversations for Network Marketers, How to Bust Through Any Block. And this is a free lesson that you can get. I'll put this link down there. It contains an audio, a chart, and examples of how you can work yourself through any problem, any fear, and come out the other side, often in minutes. But again, if you need help, I'm available for personal help too. Okay. So today is Friday. Monday we come back with more Think and Grow Rich. There's actually more to this chapter. He said actually there's a 7th evil called it's susceptibility to negative influence. So Monday we're going to cover that, because there's a whole lot to that too. I expect Jeff will be back with us on Monday, so you can enjoy his input as well, and share with friends. Oh, thank you so much. And Annie and Adele, thank you everybody. Remember, let's keep the conversation going if you wish. Thank you for sharing, and if you have a question, tip, insight, add that on here. On Monday we're going to cover more of Napoleon Hill, and also next week we're going to have a recap of this book, and also one of the days next week I'm going to share Napoleon Hill's life. That man, he didn't mention it in Think and Grow Rich, but I learned about his life and all that he went through, all the discouragements. He lived this stuff. He put this into action. He overcame some huge obstacles, discouragement, getting knocked down again and again and again and again. And so I'd love to share that with you, because that inspired me. I thought, man, if he can do that, I can overcome these steps, and that's normal. And that, my challenges, I'm not alone. It's not just me. They're overcomable. Other people have. In fact, every successful person has. So I want to share with you about his life at one of the days next week. And we'll also do a recap of the book. So I'll put a link in the comments about the open house on the 7th. Register now, because that gets you your seat reserved and gets you registered for the free books. I'll put a link for Real Conversations for Network Marketers, a self-help method that I think you will love. It can help you get from stuck and fear to solution in minutes. And we will see you back on Monday, noon Eastern Time, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. There's a Facebook group about that. You can join that, get a free book, see all the replays of this, and we'd love to have you. So, everybody take care. What days are the recap? What days are recap and his live? Not sure what that means, Annie. Maybe can you explain that a little more? And I'm going to end now and answer questions that you leave in the comments, okay? Everybody take care. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for growing every day. Take care.